Welcome in, Iowa Hawkeye fans, to another episode of the Hawkeye Tailgate Report. The Iowa Hawkeyes are coming off a win over Miami, Ohio, 38-14. We got Sam Middleton and Austin Myers here tonight for the show. Joey Myers has taken the night off. His you-know-what's a little sore, so he wanted the night off for that. Guys, how you doing? We got the win.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob.
Yeah, can't complain. Got a long weekend this week, coming off an Iowa victory. Life is good right now. It would be sweeter if Iowa State would have actually lost, or if you and I would have had some balls and attempted the 2-point conversion in the second overtime.
Yes. I could talk about that for hours.
Yeah, so could I. But it was still pretty satisfying to watch the team. Like the very first, like the only Iowa State team, in their history that's been ranked going into the season, and all their fans think that they're hot shit and are going to kick some ass, and then they barely pulled one out against UNI, so that kind of lowered them. So that coupled with an Iowa win, real big mood today, real big.
A UNI team with their quarterback from Des Moines, Lincoln. No offense.
Known powerhouse, Des Moines, Lincoln.
Yes.
Full disclosure, I've never actually heard of Des Moines, Lincoln, so...
Where Jordan Bernstein's from.
See? Well, I'm from the eastern Iowa. I'm not from central Iowa. You lost me there, so... But we'll get right into the game here. As I mentioned, Iowa won 38-14. What are your thoughts on the game? That's basically what I expected. They didn't show anything on offense or defense. Like, they didn't really open up the playbook at all. We wore them down in the first half and kind of just piss-pounded them in the second half.
Overly impressed with the running game and the tight ends. I expected what we got from the receivers. I expected that. But Sean Byer, I think he's gonna fill in nicely. And then running backs look really good, especially Sargent, of course.
Yeah, that's also my biggest takeaway from the game, is that we ran the ball effectively, and it wasn't just out of like the typical Iowa power I like running formation. We did a lot of running like handoffs from the shotgun formation, and we did really well on all of those runs too. So especially coming off last year where we averaged under 4 yards a carry, and with Iowa, if you're going to be successful, you're going to have a good running game to come out, and I think we averaged 5.2 yards a carry this game. That was a good sign. Also, let's take a second to talk about Tyler Goodson, because he came in late in the fourth quarter to get some carries, because it's probably going to be one of those situations where with the new redshirt rule where they can play 4 games and not lose their eligibility, this was a game that he was going to be able to get in and get some carries. He looked damn good out there. What do you guys think about that?
Go ahead, Luke.
He looked freaking awesome. I mean, I heard a lot of hype from him throughout training camp and whatnot, but he looked like very scat-backish. He had a lot of Akram Wadley in him, I thought, when he was in the open field, making people miss. I don't know. I just thought there's definitely a bright future with that kid, and we're pretty well set, I'd like to think, for the coming years.
Yeah, he was a lot faster than I thought he was going to be. Definitely some Wadley. He's by far the fastest running back on our team, and he has got some home run hitting speed. I thought he was taking his last carry to the house.
Yeah, but that's got to be trouble for Ivory Kelly Martin.
Yeah,
did he get any carries this game?
He got a couple looks on offense, but no carries.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I think they weren't dominating the game in the first half like we thought we probably would. So they stuck with the Sargent and Young, but I think Martin will get his chances. It's going to be whoever's got the hot hand. And I also think Goodson will not redshirt this year.
Really?
I would be shocked if they didn't redshirt Goodson, just because we know that we have 3 good backs, or at least 2 good backs in Sargent and Young, and then you don't really know what we've got with Ivory Kelly Martin, just because he's been injured so often that you just don't know what you got out of him. But as long as those main 3 stay healthy for the season, I would be very surprised to see us burn a redshirt season on Goodson, just for the sake. I don't know. I don't know how much extra he can add that those first 3 aren't going to already bring to the table. Get him some carries in these games that you can, get him the experience, but don't lose the redshirt. I don't know.
You know someone's going to get hurt, so
True.
Just,
Even still, though, if somebody gets hurt, we still have 3 upperclassmen as
bet the house, not redshirting. Bet the house. Give me your money.
Would be surprised. I would
Give
be
your money.
surprised.
But it was so nice because it'd be first down and we'd rip off 5-6 yards of carry, and it was second and manageable basically throughout the game. Although we didn't score that many points in the first half, it was just nice to know that our running backs were basically shredding the Miami defense. So,
And Nate Stanley or maybe Brad Banks. I couldn't tell who was out there at some point.
yeah, Nate Stanley looks elusive, fleet of foot, some might say.
Absolutely torched them on the ground. Career-long carry, 16 yards, which is Stanley is the type of quarterback where once he starts running, it takes a while for him to get up to speed, but once he gets going, he's big. He weighs 240 pounds.
Like Thomas the Train.
Yeah, he's tough to stop. Not super fast, not shifty, but if he gets open field and he can get a run at it, he can get moving pretty good.
Think of Cam Newton at Auburn.
Not I don't know about that one, Jim.
All right, so brought up Nate Stanley right there. What are your overall impressions of him in this game? Because after the game, I did talk to some Iowa fans who were still angry that he missed open passes deep, but my response was 3 different wide receivers dropped long passes. So, yeah, and they weren't really calling them out. It's got to be a level playing field here.
Well, I wouldn't say that any of those long balls that you're saying receivers dropped they weren't on the money passes. They were kind of wrong shoulder turnaround, something like that. It's been the problem with Stanley, or the biggest critique with Vans throughout his first 2 years as starters. He hasn't had the touch in the long ball, and he threw a couple long balls that weren't perfect. They still were good enough that a receiver could have made a play on it. But overall, I was very happy with his play. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, threw for 250-something yards, was spreading the ball out. He made good decisions all night. I mean, how many different receivers caught passes? I think that the passing game looked good. It looks dynamic. It has a different feel than it has for a lot of the last, 4 or 5 years. There's just so many different good options, speed and strength with our receiving group. I was happy with how Stanley played. You know what you're going to get with him, which is about what he did. It was a perfectly acceptable game for me.
His short balls and his out routes and everything within 20 yards is professional NFL level type throws. Again, we talked about the deep ball. It doesn't let's talk about the pass to Nico Reganey. He underthrew him. I think it's a mental thing for Nate, honestly. Because you think back to last year when, who was it? Was it Hawkinson was wide open against
Penn State?
Yep. He overthrew him. I think it's a mental thing. I'm not worried about it at all. I mean, he got the ball there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he was fine. You can't ask for a better performance out of your quarterback, honestly.
Yeah, and if we're being realistic about this, it's nice to connect in those deep home run balls because they can change the dynamic of a game, but as a quarterback, 60-70% of your passes are going to be 20 yards and in. So if he's going to be very good in one section of his passing game, that's where you're going to want it to be, that short to intermediate distance. If he can start to dial up his good touch on the long ball, obviously everybody would take it because it would be a great bonus. But if he can consistently be hitting his receivers on time and on target from 25 and in, that he's going to be very good all season long. And
moving the chains a lot.
Yeah, well, he threw for over 250 yards, or right at 250 yards, somewhere around there. Austin mentioned 3 touchdowns. It was just a great performance by him on his part, and I don't really understand the criticism by some of the fans, but it was a good game for him. Moving on here, Epinesa didn't have a sack in the game.
Who?
AJ Epinesa, Epi, our future Heisman winner.
I didn't hear his name called on Saturday, and I'm not really sure who you're talking about.
And Matt Hankins also had a rough game defensively. Do either of those performances worry you for those guys?
Not one single bit at all. I was watching Epinesa, keyed in on him the entire time. He was getting double team, triple team. He had so many quarterback pressures. that Gabbert had to release the ball. He was there. It's not a big deal at all. He didn't get sacked. Big whoop. Like, he's going to get attention. Everyone knows this. And then Hankins, I don't really remember him getting picked on. I saw someone else say that too. I think there's a couple of balls that were like pretty lucky grabs and lucky throws, tight windows. I'm not worried about him. He's our best DB by far, so I'm not really worried about him.
Yeah, I'm not worried about either of them either. Kind of like you said. Obviously, all of us would have enjoyed if Epinesa would have went out there and started out the season with like a 4-sack performance and a couple forced fumbles or something like that. I do think all of us, and definitely myself included, we definitely homered in on him a bit and said, he's good, 20 sacks, yeah, screw it, why not?
Did we all say that? We all did that?
Sam
a lot of the fan base, yeah, whatever. But he doesn't have to have sacks to have an impact on the game. Like you said, he was getting doubled and tripled all night, which meant that other defenders had single teams, that they could make disruptive plays. How many times were you seeing Miami's quarterback releasing the ball 2 seconds or less? I mean, he just didn't have time to throw deep routes or anything. So, yeah, Epi, maybe he's not going to fill up the stat sheet like we wanted him to this season, but he's still first-round talent. I'm not worried about him even in the slightest. With regards to Hankins, I think it was really just one play that I can remember that he kind of got burned on. Besides that, he played fine. I think that our secondary in general, the first half they were just kind of shaky. Maybe it was inexperience at some positions. Maybe it was just first game rust. I don't know. They didn't look the best in the first half of the game, but I'm not concerned about Hankins either. Our secondary's probably, maybe not, I don't know. Our secondary is going to be fine. I'm not worried about anybody on the defense.
Yeah, just the style of offense that Miami ran, it didn't favor well for sacks. I mean, there was the one where Amani Jones came on a blitz. I think it was the only blitz we threw at him the whole game, and he absolutely murdered the quarterback. So, yeah, I'm not worried about Epinesa in that regard. Slightly worried about Matt Hankins, because I can remember 2 or 3 plays where he just seemed like he was out of position, and I actually had somebody text me today and said that Hankins just looked kind of lazy out there the other night. I'm not going to throw the L word out there at him, but it's worth recognizing that he didn't have his best game, first game of the year. Won't hold it against him too much. Moving on now, or do you have something else you wanted to add?
Well, I don't know. I would just say, it was first game of the season. We have some newer pieces in the secondary, so everybody was trying to figure out, what their assignments were, what it was going to be. You're going to expect that there's probably going to be a little bit of miscommunication, sometimes a little bit of growing pains. It happened against Miami, Ohio. It's fine if it happens against Miami, Ohio, and we can learn from it, and I'm sure that's what they're going to do. It's a problem if this happens, when we're playing Penn State. But against Miami, Ohio, make the mistakes, learn from it, move on. I'm not concerned about the secondary.
All right, now we're going to move on to our final topic before we get to our interviews from the tailgating scene this past weekend, and it's what impressed you most this opening game?
For me, it was a combination of our running game and offensive line play, because something that we haven't touched on yet, Alaric Jackson went down on our second series of the game and didn't return, which meant that we had to shuffle around pieces all over our offensive line. We had to bring in non-starters. We moved Tristan Wirfs to the other side of the line. We were using a freshman at center who played absolutely lights out fantastic, and we were still able to average 5.2 yards a carry. That's the type of play that I was going to need to bring all season long if we're going to be a good team, and they showed up in a big way when a projected first-round NFL draft pick went down early and didn't return. So that's what I was most impressed with out of that game.
Yeah, I would agree with offensive line. We had a lot of issues last year with the run game, and just seeing that in the first game get figured out that early is very, very nice. Hopefully they'll be able to continue it against Rutgers, which I'm sure they will. But
yeah.
That and I think the play calling, I like the play calling. There was like 1 or 2 maybe. Usually I have like a laundry list of plays. I'm like, why would you call that here? But I only remember a couple where I was like, Brian, what are you doing? But other than that, it was pretty balanced, and like Yeah, getting everyone involved. We got a lot of talent at wide receiver. A lot of talent.
Yeah, that's one thing I realized. I think we threw 5 or 6 just fade routes to our wide receivers on the goal line or inside the red zone, and that's just, hey, we have the wide receivers. We're gonna let them go out there and absolutely just shred your defensive backs, and I noticed that throughout the game too. That they want to use the wide receivers, the weapons they have this year. Whereas it been years before where we have a weapon or two and we don't necessarily like to exploit them to their full potential, but we certainly did that in this first game. I have 3 players that kind of really impressed me. Geno Stone looked like he was just aggressive as all shit out there the other night. I thought he was great work in the secondary. Tried jumping a few routes there. A Goodson we already talked about. I mean, he's a good recruit coming in. I don't think anybody saw this coming in his first game of his high school or college career. And then I haven't been as hyped for a regular season touchdown as I was for Oliver Martin's touchdown. I was freaking out, losing my mind on my seat in Kinnick Stadium. Like, it was...
That makes 3 of us.
Yeah. I mean, how fitting is it that his first career reception as a Hawkeye was a touchdown in a night game, season opener, sellout. Like, right in the renovated north end zone, too. Like, you could not have asked for a more perfect...
It was in the south end zone.
Was it?
Yeah, south.
Yeah.
You have your directions all wrong here.
I am. Sorry. Might have been the alcohol. Either way.
I think it was against Regumba, too.
Emmanuel, yeah.
Either way.
Emmanuel Regumba.
Heck of an introduction to the Iowa crowd.
Yeah, it was...
And then seeing his teammates embrace him like he's not the redheaded stepchild, that was nice.
Was that his first play in the game? Because when he came on
Second.
the second play in the game,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that perfect route, perfect catch, perfect pass. Nate Stanley was even pumped up. Did you see some of the photos online after that touchdown? He was all flexing out there. He was feeling the mojo a little bit. So that was I'm just.
I think I saw Kirk Ferentz throw a bird middle finger towards the Michigan area.
You think
the country as well
pointed that direction? Yeah. I really hope.
Speaking of go ahead, Luke.
I was just gonna say I really hope Jim Harbaugh misses Oliver Martin this year. So.
Oh yeah, fuck that guy. I was just gonna say, speaking of Stanley, how many touchdowns? So he had 3 this game. How many more does he need to tie and then take the Iowa all-time record for passing touchdowns? It's
23, I believe.
I think it's less than that.
23 to tie, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 23 to tie. But no, he's
got that in the bag.
He's got.
And you know Brian's going to have that in the back of his mind when they're down in the red zone. Why do you think we ran so many fades? We could have ran the ball in.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
wants Nate to get that record.
Yeah,
That's his first quarterback that he had.
Yeah, I think I kind of wanted to show off our new receivers' abilities too. So I think it's a confidence boost for the whole receiving corps too, to get down in the red zone situations, kind of within the 10-yard line, and be like, you know what, we're not gonna run the ball. We're gonna trust our receivers to make big plays. Yeah, I think that shows a lot of confidence in the entire receiving group moving forward for the rest of the season. I'm so high on our receivers this year. They're going to be so good. Stanley's going to have a big time passing year this season.
Yeah, I agree. We win 10 games, Stanley's in Heisman contention. I'm willing to say that 10 games.
I just think that there's so many very good quarterbacks in the country. You got Trevor Lawrence down at Clemson, Tua in Alabama. Jalen Hurts looked very good in his first game at Oklahoma. There's going to be some QBs out there that are putting up just absolute stupid numbers this season. So I like that you want him to be in the... I mean, we all want him. If he's in the Heisman conversation, Iowa's having a hell of a season, but there's a lot of very talented football players out there this year.
After October 12th, he's going to have wins over Iowa State, Michigan, and Penn State.
He's such a homer.
It's going to put him on the map, baby. Let's go.
We aren't winning in Ann Arbor.
All right, fellas. Well, we have some news for the listeners here. We actually are becoming official enough to have sponsors, so we have our first sponsor here before we get to the interviews. Shout out to Demer Oil, based out here in Dubuque County. Locations in Worthington, Monticello, Holy Cross, Steve and Toby Demmer at the helm. Toby actually gets interviewed in this week's segment with interviews from tailgates. So Demmer Oil, just go check them out. Their website is DemmerOilInc.com. Phone number 1-800.
Spell that for me.
Yeah, DemmerOilInc.com. I almost misspelled it there, and I was reading it right off the paper for you. So, yeah, phone number 1-800-433-3833 or 35. Sorry about that. And funny thing here is if you go to their website, it says lube oils right on their home screen. So that's always a good thing to see.
Oh man,
We do like that.
Yeah, you
We
do
do
like that.
that.
So we're going to get to our tailgate interviews here. We'll be back after the interviews. We have our first tailgate interview here of the year for the Hawkeye Tailgate Report. We got Zach and Jake here. Fellas, how you doing?
Fantastic.
Football's back, baby. I'm excited.
You're absolutely correct. It is back. So what are you guys thinking for this season? I mean, we got a tough schedule, but we have a lot of returners. Probably the best offense and wide receiving core we've ever had at Iowa.
I'll be disappointed if we're not in the Big Ten championship game. I think that's where we got with the season on the line. You know, that's kind of going to make or break the season. Big Ten championship or bust in my eyes. Anything else is a failure.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm going 9-3, right? And
Good call.
Big Ten West champs. And you know what? I think we got a good season ahead of us.
I agree. I think there's a window 8-4 to 10-2 is probably our window. It depends if we can actually finish some of these close games, Penn State, Michigan, games like that. But we lose Phantom Hawkinson last year. Who's a player you're looking forward to seeing?
I think Amir Smith-Marset is the guy. I look to see, honestly, I think he's going to have a 700-yard season. I think that Oliver Martin's going to be big for us. I think he'll come through. And obviously you got Brandon Smith. I think he's going to be a big time for us as well.
How about you, Jake?
I really think a difference maker in the team when it comes down to it in today's football game. You get somebody like a fullback, like a Brady Ross, just comes in, starts knocking heads. He gets you the critical third down, fourth down conversions. I'm picking him to be a key contributor on the year. Probably have 67 yards rushing, maybe 69. Probably maybe a touchdown. I don't know, but we'll see. I think he's going to be big on the year. I think that's the difference. You got a fullback in today's game that can knock some heads around. That's what's going to get you the Big Ten championship or not.
All right, so on our last podcast, Joey Myers actually he asked us the question who would have the most targeting penalties against him this year on the Hawks, and I said Brady Ross. What are your thoughts on that?
Jesus, I don't know. I don't even know what the hell that question means.
Targeting is basically when you try and decapitate an opposing player.
Yeah, that's his job. So if that's a penalty, he's probably pretty screwed.
All right, so he likes my pick. I like to hear that. I like to hear that. So a lot of hype around Nebraska and Iowa State this year. Honest opinions.
That's dumb.
Who are the teams?
Iowa State and Nebraska. Little brothers.
Yeah, Iowa State, they're currently losing to Northern Iowa. Current update, live update. Tied. Live update, guys. This is live.
Joey, you let us know if that game goes final during the interview.
Brock Purdy, sophomore slump. No, not up on Iowa State. Nebraska, do like their coach. I will say this. The guy needs to shave because he's got blonde. It doesn't look good. He's trying to do the scruff thing, but it's not looking good for him. They looked okay today, 28-7. But no, they're not ready. Ask me next year, I might be a little afraid of Nebraska. Not this year. No.
The Heroes Trophy is staying in Iowa City this year. That's without a doubt. And Cyhawk. I mean, nervous about going to Ames, but you barely hang with UNI and you almost lose to Drake at the end of last season. Like, you're coming in pretty stinky right now.
That's a Duck's name.
That's a Duck's name? Okay, so you mentioned Scott Frost there. Have you ever seen Friday Night Lights, the TV show?
No, the movie. And I tear up every time.
All right, I was going to say there's a kind of a dorky kid in the TV show who looks like Scott Frost, so I was just going to throw some shade right there.
Kicker?
Yeah, so, but I got some trivia question for you guys.
Okay.
Would you like to hear them? And they're based around Week 1 or Miami, Ohio, since that's who we play this week.
The Fighting Ben Roethlisbergers.
When Iowa played Miami, Ohio in 2003, who was their starting quarterback?
That's too easy here. Big Ben.
Byron Leftwich.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh, okay. All right.
What year was it when when Iowa last lost their first game of the regular season?
1936.
2016 North Dakota State.
2013, we lost to Northern Illinois, and 2016 North Dakota State was the third game of the year after Miami, Ohio, and Iowa State.
I'd fact check that.
I did before.
Yeah.
Because we were 2-0, we beat Iowa State the week before 42-0, and then we go and drop a dud.
I hear you, but we're going to agree to disagree on that one.
Well, you're wrong. But
Who's the quarterback at Northern Illinois that year? Big
it
guy,
was
right?
the big white guy. Yeah, I can't remember what his name was. I can't remember for the
like
life.
a race issue, but
No, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, final question for you guys. What were the final two plays of the opening game against UNI in 2009?
That was 2 blocked field goals.
I was gonna go with Hail Mary and a kneel.
It's 2 blocked field goals.
Okay,
Zach,
all
you are
right.
correct. Fellas, that's all I got for you. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right, yeah, thanks for having us. I'm excited about the year. I'm excited about today. Football's back. Let's go, baby.
Football's back.
Hey, go Hawks!
Go Hawks. Our next interview for the first game of the year, we got Taylor Bockenstead. I'm actually sharing season tickets with Taylor this year, so it's going to be a great year.
It's going to be a great year. A lot of good seats and a lot of good memories.
So you said you want to talk a lot of tight end action here.
Yes, I do. After last year, the 2 tight ends, obviously, that we had, and who's going to replace them and be the next studs for Iowa.
All right, so what do you think of, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name correctly, Weeding, I think is how you pronounce it?
Nate Weeding, I mean, he's waited a couple years, but now it's his time to shine. And last year he had a lot of blocking opportunities. He had, I think, don't quote me on it, but at least 4 catches, I think, as a blocking tight end. And now I think they are talking about him. He slimmed down a little bit, and I think he's the next star for Iowa to go to the NFL, honestly.
So he was named to the Mackey Award watch list, which goes to the best tight end in the nation across all college football. Do you know how many career catches he has coming into this season?
I can't quote me on it. It's not very many because he's been used as more of the third down blocking tight end when they go a 3-set. But I know that he's pretty athletic the couple times they've thrown to him, and he can block, obviously, at being an Iowa tight end. So he has a good chance at, I think, putting up a lot of good numbers. And also alongside him is Drew Cook, who is a 4-star recruit at Des Moines Dowling, I'm pretty sure. So I think he's going to be a pretty good athlete. He's a quarterback coming into Iowa.
All right, he has 3 catches coming into this year, by the way. Just 3, but a lot of hype around him. Our tight ends, they're getting a lot of respect just nationally just because of the tight ends we've put out in the past. You know, Fant, Hawkinson, of course, but you got Kittle, you got Scott Chandler being successful with the Patriots and Bills. It's just a good reputation we have here. But we have obviously one of the more electrifying defensive players in A.J. Epinesa returning this year. What do you think the season he'll have? Because he had 10.5 sacks last year, and on the podcast this week, I set the over-under at 14.5.
I think 14.5 is going to be low for Epinesa because, one, everybody's thinking about double teaming him, but you got to think about Damian Nixon, the rest of the D-line. I think that they aren't just going to be able to double team him. He's going to get a lot of one-on-ones that people aren't expecting.
And we have another year with our linebacking core, which they didn't have a lot of experience coming into last season, so hopefully they can give him a little break as well.
Yes, and I think switching to the 2 linebacker set with us doing more DBs on the field, and I think that we're going to be able to blitz a little bit more than we've done traditionally in the past. So it's going to put a lot more pressure on people's front 5.
I agree. I think the defense as a whole, our defensive backs and linebackers were so inexperienced last year, but they're returning this year. We got Geno Stone, Julius Brents, and all those guys in the secondary. So just overall defensive look, you think we'll be pretty solid?
Oh, I think everybody's predicting us to be number 1 in the country on defense. I think that's going to be pretty in secure hands with our defense, especially with Parker being the defensive coordinator. I have a lot of faith.
So for the last 4 years, Iowa has brought back 3 rivalry trophies in the Cy-Hawk, the Heroes, and Floyd of Rosedale. Do you think we go and get that Heartland Trophy from Wisconsin this year up in Madison?
Hell yes. Screw the Badgers.
That's a great answer. I agree 110%. 110%. So you ready for some trivia questions?
Taylor doesn't have shit.
All right. So the trivia question, first one is, when Iowa played Miami, Ohio in 2003, who was Miami's quarterback?
Ben Roethlisberger.
That is absolutely correct. That was actually the first game I ever went to in Kinnick Stadium.
Also, he threw, 4 interceptions?
He did, against Chad Greenway, Abdul Hodge. That was a loaded defense.
Ooh, yes, it was.
Okay, next question. What year was it when Iowa last lost their first game of the season?
I'm going to guess 2006.
2013. They lost to Northern Illinois.
I knew the kicker on that team, which actually now I remember it because he played against us in high school, and he was really good.
Yeah, that was a tough game to swallow, but that was Rudolph's first year as a starter. We ended up going 8-5, made the Outback Bowl, and almost beat a good LSU team with Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry.
I do remember that.
Yeah, good game there. Final question for you. What were the final 2 plays of the opening game against UNI in 2009?
2 blocked field goals, and that was a heart stopper.
We had a lot of games in 2009. We had Michigan State, Indiana, that UNI game, a bunch of really good close games.
I remember because I was a little kid before my voice dropped. I was screaming on my TV, and my mom told me to shut up.
Good memories there, good memories. Well, Taylor, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
One last thing, Brandon Smith, going to be a stud this year.
He's going to be an NFL wide receiver. Thanks for coming on.
Go Hawks!
Next up on the Hawkeye Tailgate Report, we have...
Adam Jelinek,
Where are you from?
Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Cedar Rapids, real close here. All right, so Hawkeyes coming into this season, obviously ranked in the top 25. Doesn't happen every year. What do you think of the season this year?
Well, in years past, when there's been a season of high expectation, we fall a little bit short. But, this year I think you got a lot of guys coming back. Play a lot of good teams. Tough schedule on the road, but, again, it's Iowa football.
Do you have a record? Because in my eyes, I see between 8-4 and 10-2 possibility.
9 wins.
9 wins, 9-3. Bull win 2?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, so is there a player in specific you're looking forward to watching?
Quarterback.
Nate Stanley? Do you think the wide receiving core is going to make him take the next step?
Well, it's up to the line of scrimmage. Absolutely. 1,000% doesn't matter what he does. If the line doesn't do what they got to do, then it doesn't matter what he does. Period.
So do you think the line will be able to stand up to the standards? I mean, Jackson and Wirfs are both named, obviously, to the Outland watch list, which best lineman in the country.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's the best line they got coming back in a long, long time.
We've gotten 3 of the 4 rivalry trophies over the last 4 years. The only one we haven't gotten is the Heartland Trophy. Do you think we can get 3 or 4 or even 4 or 4 this year?
Got to be honest with you, I have no idea what the Heartland Trophy is. Is that Wisconsin? That's what I thought. You know what? It's at Wisconsin this year, so I tell you what, it's going to be tough.
Going to be tough. Did you see how Iowa State fared today against UNI?
Yes, I did, and made me feel real good about 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I mean, I'm glad Iowa State got the win because it hypes up the game a little more, but I think we have them right where we want them.
Well, I will never be tremendously happy if Iowa State wins, I'll tell you that right now. So I would love to have seen them lost, but you know what? We'll beat them in 2 weeks.
You're absolutely right. All right, so I got some trivia questions for you. You ready for them?
Absolutely.
When Iowa played Miami, Ohio in 2003, who was Miami's starting quarterback?
Oh, God, I can't imagine anybody would know this. Ben Roethlisberger.
That's right. That is right. The next question. What year was it when Iowa last lost their first game of the season?
I have no clue.
2013, they lost to Northern Illinois. They ended 8-5 that season, though. People keep saying North Dakota State, but that was the 3rd game of the year in 2016. So, and the final question for you here is, what were the final 2 plays against UNI in the 2009 opener?
I believe that was a blocked field goal-ish. Maybe two blocked field goals. Sure.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Love it. Go Linmar Lions.
Next up on the Hawkeye Tailgate Report, we have one of our sponsors, Toby Demmer of Demmer Oil here. How you doing?
Good, and you?
Oh, I'm doing great, So, season kicks off today, Miami, Ohio. What are your expectations for this year?
I hope we have a good year.
You got a record in mind, or play Michigan on the road, Penn State at home, Iowa State on the road?
Yeah, we got a tough road schedule. I don't know. I'd like to say, 2 10-2 or something like that, but that's pretty optimistic, I think, and just hope we come away with a good year.
I agree. I think we're hanging in that 8-win range to the 10-win range. So, is there a player in specific you're looking forward to watching this year?
I just am interested in Epinesa, obviously, and I hope our wide receiver core lives up to everything they're saying about how it's probably one of the better ones we've had in a while.
Okay, so you've been an Iowa fan for a little while now. So, have you Iowa could possibly run 4 or 5 wide receivers out there this year who are pretty good. Have you ever seen that?
No, we've always run a lot of tight ends. From Fry to Ferentz, it's been a lot of tight ends, so it'd be a lot of fun to watch if it all came together.
Is there one game this season that you're looking forward to most or worried about most?
Just piss pounding Iowa State because all their fans are acting like they're just going to be great, and I just hope we go down there and just piss stomp them.
Did you see the game or see the result of the game today?
Yeah, we were following it on the way down here and listening to it and watching it, and yeah.
Were you pulling for UNI, or you wanted Iowa State to win that so we can go there and piss pound them when they were running 0 and end their college football playoff hopes?
No, I was rooting for UNI.
Rooting for UNI all the way? Can't knock you for that. I can't stand Iowa State fans. All right, so I got some trivia questions for you. You ready for them?
Yeah.
Who was Miami's quarterback in 2003 when Iowa played Miami?
Ben Roethlisberger.
That is correct. That's probably the most easy question I have this year. When was the last time Iowa lost their first game of the season?
I don't even know that.
2013 is the correct answer. They lost to Northern Illinois.
I can remember that.
Yep.
Was that the really hot day?
I mean, there's a lot of really hot days in early September. So.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
But a lot of people have been saying North Dakota State in 2016, but that was the third game of the year we lost.
Okay.
And the final question I got is, what were the final 2 plays of the Iowa UNI game in 2009?
2 blocked field goals.
You're absolutely correct. Toby, thanks for coming on.
Luke, you know how I know all that?
How?
Because I follow the Hawkeye Tailgate Twitter.
That's go_Hawks. That is our Twitter page. Thanks for coming on, Toby.
You bet, Luke. Thanks, man.
Next up on the Hawkeye Tailgate Report, we have Tim and Brett. Fellas, where are you from?
We live in Norwalk, Iowa.
Norwalk.
Alrighty. So Hawkeyes coming in with lofty expectations this year. What are you thinking?
I think it's going to be a good year.
I would say 9-3 or 10-2.
I have them in that range as well, the 8-4 to 10-2 range. We have some tough road games, but
split the road games, and yeah.
So our offense lost Fanton Hawkinson last year. What are your expectations for the offense this upcoming season?
I would think for number of catches from the tight end, maybe still 20 to 30. Wide receivers got to be more involved. I think if we can get that zone run game going, that's going to help a lot. I would say that's where all of our explosive long runs are going to come from. So
I'm excited about seeing these new receivers this year, what we can do, open things up and make things really exciting, make Kinnick live in there.
So the Nate Whitting was named to the Mackey Award watch list, best tight end in the nation. He has 3 career receptions. What do you think about that?
I think if you go back and look at the history that we have for tight ends from back in Dallas Clark, he played a lot last year. He was mainly on when they ran 2 or 3 tight ends, so he wasn't going out and actually running routes, but he's just one more guy that's coming up through the system, so expect a real good season.
Any comment?
I agree with Tim. I think Iowa's got the right system. You don't necessarily have to have experience, just follow what the coaches say. You're going to be put in a good position to make yourself important to the team.
So this week I saw Chad Lyskow, reporter somewhere here in Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, said that Iowa could run 3, 4, 5 wide receivers out there at a time. I mean, have you ever seen that as an Iowa fan before?
Sometimes they would run like a 3 wide receiver set. So you've got Oliver Martin now, Smith and Smith. I mean, and then you got whatever that redshirt freshman's name.
Tyrone Tracy?
Yeah, the slot guy. So, I mean, if we run 3, 4 wide receiver sets, we're throwing a lot more.
which I don't know. I mean, it could be a good thing. So
I think it's going to be great. Throw the ball, open up the running game, kick everybody's butt.
Kick everybody's butt. There we go. All right, so you guys ready for some trivia questions?
all right, sure, yeah.
All right, in 2003 when Iowa played Miami, Ohio, who was their quarterback? Miami, Ohio.
Ben Roethlisberger.
That is correct. When did Iowa last lose their first game of the season?
Season opener.
His first year, wasn't it? 1998, or was it later than that?
So his first year, we only won one game. We beat Northern Illinois. And I don't think that was the opener. So that would have been, 97 or 98?
What was that?
Do you know where Myrtle Avenue is?
Ooh, no, I do not. I'm sorry.
No.
All right.
You're in trivia, though.
It was actually 2013 we lost to Northern Illinois. That was Jake Rudock's first year, and we went 8-5, lost in the Outback.
Yeah. Oh, crap.
Yeah, that's tough, but that's all right.
I blocked that one out of my memory for good reasons.
Yeah.
People have been saying 2016 because we lost to North Dakota State, but that was our third game of the year.
Third game.
All right, one more question for you. What were the final two plays of the first game of the year against UNI in 2009?
Blocked field goals.
Block field goal.
Oh, yeah, one of the best finishes in Iowa history.
Yep, I remember that.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it. Go Hawks.
Same to you. Yeah.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Yeah.
Thanks for staying tuned to the Hawkeye Tailgate Report. Some good interviews out amongst other Iowa fans this weekend. It was great to be back at the tailgate and seeing. Loved grilling, having beers, playing some games, listening to some music. It was just great to be back in Iowa City.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed doing those interviews with you guys. Had a lot of fun.
Well,
Sam, don't get me started.
For the record, it was just me out there doing the interviews, Luke Myers, by myself. But Sam wasn't really with us at the time. Austin and Joy were playing drinking games, and I'm like, I'm not one to stop people from getting into an inebriated state. So I took the bullet, and I go out there and do it. I do it for the listeners. So you can thank me for my service later. Yep.
Thank you for your service, Luke. That was incredible.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I tell you what, though, just the electricity of that first tailgate of the season. Oh, just it gets your hair sticking on end. You wake up and you're like, oh, it's game day. You blast some Back in Black, have a shower beer while you're getting ready to go tailgating. Then you get out there, you see everybody. Go Hawks. Oh, man. Good stuff.
Can I comment on the atmosphere real quick?
Yes.
Sure.
I didn't think it was that good.
It wasn't, but Miami, Ohio shouldn't be a night game.
No, I know, but it's just it was a good atmosphere. But I'm just sitting there thinking, oh my God, when Penn State comes to town, it is going to be electric.
Yeah. That place is absolutely going to be rocking.
Can we please get some gold pom-poms? That would look so cool on TV.
I think that's our black and gold striped
Spirit game.
That always looks good on TV.
It does, but they really need pom-poms. They look so sweet when everyone's going like this. They're Back in Black.
So
nobody can see me, but whatever.
you mentioned the Penn State game right there, and just announced Theo Johnson, one of the top tight end recruits, going to be taking his visit to Iowa on that day. So that just adds to the importance of us. Absolutely,
there'll be a lot more than just him there.
Well, yeah, I mean, across every sport
too. Though
he's the most. Yeah, I mean, it would be awesome.
He's the number one football prospect in Canada. So, pretty prestigious. I really don't know how many football recruits come out of Canada, but he's number one, so that's something.
Quite a few. I think he picked a good game, but you saw where he's going the week after, right?
Penn State, right?
Happy Valley, yeah.
Dude.
So we need to win that game.
I'm telling you right now, he's just going to cancel that visit to Penn State once he figures out. Or once he sees the absolute ass-kicking fiesta 210-0 that Iowa puts on Penn State that week. Also, since he's from Canada, I'm not sure if he's very familiar with the entire history of the Penn State football program, but I'm sure some good fans in Iowa City could enlighten him, and that'd be another reason for him to just, skip going there, because fuck those guys. Right?
Yeah, once Sean Byer reels in 10 catches and Nate Witting Wu-Tang.
Weeding.
Yeah, you
tried too hard.
to get better at this.
Reels in 5 more catches. He's just going to look at that and say, this is where I got to go if I got to be a tight end. We're going to have him and Elijah Yelverton lining up on opposite sides of the line of scrimmage with Deuce Hogan under center. Oh my!
I'm sorry, did Luke Lachey die?
We're going to have a lot of tight ends is what I'm kind of beating at here. So,
And I would love it if he were to come to Iowa, but I just think that with the number of high-end tight end prospects that we already have committed, that it might kind of scare him away just because of concerns about playing time. Obviously, Iowa showed that they can they can play multiple tight ends at the same time and have them both be first-round NFL draft picks. But if you're coming out of high school, your stock, 4-star, top 100 type player, are you going to want to go somewhere where you're going to have to fight for playing time, or go somewhere where you think, I'm definitely going to be the guy? So I would be kind of surprised if he decided on Iowa.
Well, there's going to be talent anywhere he goes. So, and he already said he's not afraid of the competition.
love to see the competition.
Yeah.
Did you see that Sam Laporta, how much playing time he got on Saturday?
Who?
We never talked about that. Sam Laporta, true freshman tight end.
I didn't really recognize that, no.
He was in all the goal line packages in the first half.
Really?
And the second half. Yeah.
That's kind of impressive. I can't believe I didn't notice that.
So his blocking must be up to par, which is exciting because he was a huge receiving threat in high school.
Which
nice.
He's like 6'7".
Dope.
He can run.
Now, that Penn State game, going to be clearly important it's going to be important for us to win the game regardless of anything else, but you got Xavier Foster coming for a basketball visit to Iowa, top recruit in Iowa. You got Theo Johnson coming. We're going to be undefeated at the time because Ames is not slowing us down, so it's going to be a big weekend. Very electric.
For that weekend, can we just already start pushing for having game day show up in Iowa City again, finally? It's been 15 seasons.
2006 was the last time.
Was it? Okay, so not quite that long, but still, there's been plenty of opportunities, and if goddamn Wisconsin went to lost to BYU last year, game day was going to be in Iowa City for that football game.
Do you think it'll be up in Ames?
Man,
there's a couple other good games that weekend.
2 top 25 teams?
Well,
hopefully.
Yeah.
In-state rivals.
Yeah, I don't know. Iowa State didn't exactly do anything to help their cause based on how they played against UNI.
It would be kind of funny, though, because if they lose their ranking, then that's why they had one job.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I hope they do. They were higher in the coaches poll than the Associated Press, right?
I don't know. They were 21 in the AP.
I, for one, would love game day to go to Ames. You see how big of a distraction that would be for that team?
Yeah.
That would be a huge distraction.
Also, we would have to listen to Iowa State fans on Twitter up until then.
Yeah,
we have to do that anyway, so I'm not really seeing your point.
But then a benefit would be we would get to see Corso put on a Hawkeye head in Ames, which would be pretty cool, too. I would pay money to see that.
Fuck it. My favorite Corso memory.
Classic, yeah. It would be awesome to see that happen, but if game day does go to Ames for Iowa State, they're definitely not coming to Kinnick anytime this season.
Yeah,
some teams get it twice a year. Sometimes, like
Alabama
and Ohio State,
Notre Dame, not Iowa. There's there shouldn't be a reason that they haven't been here since 2006, but clearly they're not trying to give Iowa game day. Even just
how many Hawkeye fans would be there if it was in Ames?
Oh yeah.
So many.
Yeah, but
Ames would be a nightmare, and I would stay as far away as possible.
So we already brought up Iowa State, and we kind of talked about the dismantling that happened this weekend in Ames against Northern Iowa, but we got to throw some shade here because they looked like absolute garbage, and if it wasn't for Mark Farley having small testicles, you and I would have won that game. So
I don't understand the reasoning for not going for 2 in that situation.
Blows my mind.
You're on the road. double overtime against a ranked opponent, first game of the season. You're an FCS school. Play for the win.
Yeah.
Play for the win. Give your players, that would be like their moment in their 4 years at UNI probably, going on the road to a ranked opponent first week and winning in double overtime. I was astounded that they decided to kick that extra point and play for longer overtime. I could not believe it.
That move was Kirk Ferentz punting or taking a knee to go to overtime against Ohio State in 2009.
Honestly, it was worse.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah, it was worse, but similar intentions there. I was just dumbfounded at the lack of aggressiveness there by Mark Farley.
I've said it from the day I was born. I think my first words were actually, go for the win on the road, and you and I didn't do it. I cannot believe that they did not go for two. But if we're going to talk about the game, let's give them props, because they played well, and also they exposed that Iowa State is a sham of a team that is not nearly as good as whatever, especially their fans think that they're going to be. We're going to roll into Ames and absolutely beat the shit out of them this year. I have no doubt about it.
I had doubt before this weekend, but watching the offense struggle against an FCS opponent, like when we lost to North Dakota State, yeah, we deserved to catch some shit for that. But North Dakota State was still, I believe, coming off a national title and was better than probably 50% of the teams in Division I football that year. So,
yeah,
Should we talk about Rutgers? I feel like we still got a game this week, fellas.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we'll move on to Rutgers here. Although, I mean, there's not really much to talk about. They're not an impressive team. I think they won like 49-28 this weekend, but I think they were trailing at a certain point there, almost at halftime. So they really kicked it on in the second half and avoided the embarrassment that was an opening week loss to a bad team. So, do you have any worries here or concerns?
I kind of see a trap game, kind of. Hopefully, we just take care of business. I hope we run for 350 yards.
I am so completely unconcerned about this game. They're just bad. I mean, let's take a minute to think about this. What does Rutgers contribute to the Big Ten outside of being an East Coast school? Because they're pretty terrible at most sports. It's kind of a shame that the very first college football game was played at Rutgers, because they are just an absolute pile of garbage. Do you guys remember last year? They had a game and they were advertising it big time. They're like, I think it was a night game, so they were trying to have it be a blackout for their fans. And I saw a picture from the game, and there was, like, honestly, maybe 300 people in the stadium. It was pretty sad, actually.
Well, I mean, why would you pay to go to that game? Like, there's really no incentive to you going. You're not going to see good football from your team. Sam's saying it's a trap game. I understand why you're saying that, but also I don't see them as like even good enough to be considered a trap game. Like Purdue is a trap game. Minnesota's a trap game. I don't think
Rutgers... The last time we played Rutgers, we won 14-7. Keep that in mind.
Yeah,
but did we win? Yes.
Yeah, we won 14-7. So I know, I understand. We were coming off a 12-0 year, but we were also coming off a loss to North Dakota State, I think. So we were pretty low. We were at a low of lows at that point in time. So
yeah, I agree with your logic. I agree with your logic there, Luke. I agree with both your logics, really. I can see how you could think this would be a trap game. I just don't think that Rutgers has enough talent on their team to actually come into Kinnick Stadium and leave with a win. I just think that the talent disparity between the teams is such that even if Iowa played a really bad game and Rutgers played a very good game, we would still come out on top. It could be an ugly win, but I just don't think that Rutgers has enough on that roster to beat Iowa, especially inside of Kinnick Stadium.
I agree, 110%. Anybody else want to say anything else about Rutgers, or we're going to move on to our final segment?
I don't have anything to say about Rutgers, but just as far as other Big Ten teams and games that I saw this week, did you You guys see that Maryland score? It was like 79-0.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And Penn State also put up 79 points, too. Big Ten was all about it this weekend, while the SEC lost, how many? They lost a bunch of games this weekend. It was a bad weekend to be an SEC fan.
Tennessee losing at home to Georgia State. That was a bad look.
That's so horrible. I hate Tennessee fans the way it is. I'm not shy about that. They hate me. I hate them. So I was pretty much grinning ear from ear seeing that. Those poor souls down there. Yeah, good for them.
One other Big Ten note that I have here. If anybody had Northwestern to cover against Stanford, that was just a really, really terrible beat. Did you guys see that?
No, I didn't. What was it?
So it was Northwestern plus 6.5. There was 50 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Stanford was up 10-7. Northwestern had the ball around their 15-yard line or so. So they're trying to put together one final drive to go down there and maybe kick a field goal or get the win. I don't remember what down it was. Quarterback in shotgun, gets snapped, rolls to his left, looking for a receiver down the field. He kind of just dropped the football, and then it went into the end zone, and Stanford jumped on it for the touchdown, and that's how they covered the spread. If you took Northwestern there, that's just a real bad beat.
It's heartbreaking for you. I'm sorry for your loss. But we're going to move on to our final segment. Even though Joe Mama's not here on this episode, he did pre-record his Urban Dictionary read. I've had a couple people tell me last week they really like this, so we're going to keep it going here. Here's Joey with his Urban Dictionary read.
Hello, everybody. Joey Myers reporting to you remote tonight because I got invited to a chili dinner last second, and I decided to attend. I would expect that my co-host would do the same if they were invited to a free chili dinner that included apple crisp, and I suspect that the listeners will cut me some slack on this one because they understand. Anyway, welcome to the second week of our Urban Dictionary segment. We have Rutgers this week, and I know one person went to Rutgers, Dr. Ray Corey, formerly of the Eye Care Pavilion. I absolutely refuse to get my eyes tested since he's retired. Great eye doctor. Anyway, so we looked up Rutgers first on Urban Dictionary. Rutgers, purgatory where people who couldn't pay for a better school go until they get into a real graduate/medical/law school. So we have that. We also have STD capital of the world, 82% STD rate. It's burning. I think I caught it at Rutgers. And finally, I looked up Scarlet Knight because Lord knew what that was. So here we got Scarlet Knight, the mascot for the New Brunswick campus of Rutgers University, also known as the ultimate STD you can get at Rutgers. This disease originated from the skips, scap, scallywags, skags, tricks, and marks of the university. A STD that is extremely horrible and only second to gonorrhea. You catch this infection through sexual contact, extreme dry humping, or serious mucus-to-mucus membrane touching. With the freakier and dirtier the act, the easier it is contracted. The crazy thing is, if engaging in the act with a carrier of the disease, it can only infect you if you are on campus ground. Greek row and the campus town around it counts too. Sex with the person outside of the campus will only give you a normal STD, but the same regretful feeling in your body, hopeless look on your face, and burning sensation in your genitalia. It was given this name not only because of the mascot for the school, but because 2 to 3 weeks after getting it, you feel pain on your junk like you're being stabbed by a sword, and blood clots appear that bleed frequently, along with a severe rash, which even in the dark glow a bright scarlet red. Other names include Scarlet K, SK, the Bloody Knight, the Oh Shit It Burns, Little Red Riding Hood, and Clifford the Big Red Fuck Up. Thank you, boys. I'll be glad to join you again next week. Go Hawks.
Joey may not be here in spirit, or not here in person this week, but he is here in spirit. So thank you to Joe Mama for making every effort to come out, although I know you're just at dinner with somebody. So that's going to wrap up another episode. Do you guys have any other thoughts before finish her off here?
I'll throw a little bit of shade. You know, Joey could not be with us in person, but he was here in spirit. Space Cowboy could be with us neither in person or in spirit. Apparently, the Labor Day holiday took too much of a toll on him, and he was unable to put together even a few sentences for us to read for his Thoughts from Space segment. So, I guess, thoughts and prayers to Space Cowboy. Hopefully that hangover is not too terrible tomorrow when you're teaching tomorrow's youth. So, get better, and be better, because we miss you and we need you here.
All right, that's going to wrap up another episode of the Hawkeye Tailgate Report. You can follow us on Twitter at @go_Hawks Iowa. You can go like the Facebook page. Go check that out as well. We always put good content out there. The show is on iTunes and Podbean. Go subscribe if you wanna. If you enjoy the show, drop a rating on iTunes. We appreciate your feedback. Any criticism you got, let's go for it. We'll listen. But thanks for listening, guys. Hawkeyes 1-0, got Rutgers coming up this week. Let's go get another victory, have another safe tailgating scene, and as always, go Hawks.